quite interesting to also take in the view of Mr. L.N. Rao, former DCP. He's joining me live from Delhi. Mr. Rao, what's your take on this? On the one hand, you have a convict who intentionally, with a clear motive, murdered his wife Naina Sani in the most gruesome manner possible. The case hit headlines. It went into elaborate details about how he killed his wife, and it was one of the remarkable cases that the country saw in the year 1995. Now with Sushil Kumar walking out free at this point in time, Sushil Sharma, I beg your pardon, what sort of a message does this send out?
Look, this was no doubt it was a very gruesome case, and it was in the category of rarest of the rare case of murder. That's why the trial court as well as the High Court of Delhi High Court, sentenced him till death. But at the same time, because our judicial system is there is a law prevailing in our country, and the Honorable Supreme Court has reduced that death sentence to the life imprisonment. And at the same time, I must tell you that investigation was of a ace type of detection. It was a very hard investigation it was done, and you can say the quality of investigation was very good, and that purvey of that case, that pursuing of that case in the court was also done by the investigating officer and the other officers in this case. That's why this case ended into the conviction. But at the same time, I must tell you, because of our legal system, then the SRB is entitled whether to remit the jail sentence or not. But in this case, the SRB did not remit the sentence, but Honorable High Court, considering all the facts and circumstances of the case and the 23 years incarceration of Sushil Sharma, I think that Honorable High Court released him on this from the conviction, and that life imprisonment which was sentenced to him, that was considered that 23 years is enough time. That's why he's free but now. But at the same time, I must tell you there are two types of judgments for the life imprisonment. One is that life imprisonment, which was earlier used to be of 14 years, but nowadays that life imprisonment, when it is written in the order that till remaining of his actual life.
I want our viewers to get a basic understanding of this very point that you've raised right now. But Mr. Rao, I think a Supreme Court lawyer will be able to help us understand this better. Pritu Garg, if you are joining me right now, explain to us, is there any confusion in our minds about what a life sentence actually means? Is there confusion whether it means the entire time of a convict that he's alive, he has to spend that time in jail, or is it only a few years? I mean, is there a confusion, or there's absolutely, no iota of confusion over there? It's clear. Explain to us what a life sentence means, first of all.
No. Yes. So I don't think there is any confusion. It's very clear. The CRPC does not provide for any limitations on life sentence. So if life means life, means for life, for the remainder of your life, you have to be in jail. But the Delhi government in 2004 came out with an order which said, look, we are categorizing life sentence into two categories. One, with less heinous offences which are awarded life, but in that category we'll have life as meaning 14 to 20 years of imprisonment. Minimum 14, maximum 20. And there was a second category which said minimum 20 years of imprisonment and maximum 25. I think the case at hand fell in the second category, and therefore at 23 years this man has been released. Now the question is, there are two problems. If you look at the Supreme Court judgment which had commuted his death sentence to life, the Supreme Court said, well, this is an offence which is not against the society, but it's a personal kind of a grievance, because he suspected his wife of infidelity, and that is why he got enraged and killed his wife and committed the following acts, because of which he was, correct. So now I find a fallacy with that logic, although now that the water has flown under the bridge, we can't really go and revisit that judgment. But I don't think this was not a rarest of a rare case. It was a rarest of the rare case. This deserved death punishment to start with.
So what is the second problem?
Let's move past that hurdle now, since that has happened, and this man, Yes, yes. So now the second problem is, let's move past that hurdle. In any case, this man has been awarded life sentence. As per the Delhi government, there is an order which says life sentence would mean 14 to 20 or 20 to 25. In this case, looking at the circumstances,
right,
at least they should have waited till 25.
It comes in the second category.
Because that's what the government is bound by
Thanks
their
for
order.
explaining us that. Now that we have a basic understanding of what really happened and what does the law actually say, I think it's time for us to move a little ahead and talk about what this could mean. Now, Maxwell Pereira, a straight question to you. The High Court has made it very clear, and rightly so, that convicts have rights too. And that's okay. Do you believe now that other high-profile convicts like Manu Sharma, like Santosh Singh, in the Jessica Lal and Priyadarshini Mattu cases respectively, could also hope for leniency? Is this a ray of hope for them?
It's a judicial system, a criminal justice administration system in our country, and the judiciary decides on the quantum of punishment. So I suppose that judiciary has done its job, and the conviction was there. We got death penalty in 2 successive courts, that is the trial court, sessions court, and the High Court. But in the Supreme Court, that was commuted to life sentence. So, and now he's, after 23 years, the courts have decided that he has done enough. So he has been released.
But Mr. Pereira, does that not send out a wrong message to criminals? I mean, tomorrow a criminal could say that, 1 murder or 2 murders, whatever, the crime has been committed, you get a life term, and then you can expect that maybe after a couple of years, there is an option of remission, and rightly so, but that's a way out, especially in high-profile cases.
I have no comment. I have absolutely no comment about anyone. At this moment, this is a judicial function which has been performed by the judiciary. And, the only comment that I could offer is that the judiciary had certain things to say in the judgment while releasing him, and in which it said about the human life of a criminal only. It did not talk about the human life of the victim. So that was, in my opinion, was not, palatable to me. I think we need to keep in mind these aspects also.
All right, we will continue to talk about this, but Ketan, help us understand, legally speaking, once you've had a convict in a high-profile case like this, walking out free because of the remission provision, what does this mean for other high-profile cases? Purely legally talking, does that strengthen their case now when they go to the court?
See, first of all, I think we're all forgetting the fact that the foundation of the criminal justice system in this country is one of reformation and rehabilitation.
Right.
Now, this is a recognized fundamental principle all across the world in civilized societies. It finds root in criminology and sociology and so on. That is not being debated here. So because of this system, we have the option of remission and so on. And if the court has found that in a particular case, the facts indicate that this person acted, there were mitigating circumstances in his favor, he had no criminal antecedents, there is possibility of reformation and for him to be a useful member of the society after a point. And it's not just a few years, it's a couple of decades.
Right.
So I don't know why this whole issue has been turned into one of, is this adequate, is it not? Because all of this has been taken into consideration, I think.
No, because the fact is that, you look at the convict, that's right, he served the jail sentence and there is a provision, he's been let out. All of that is okay, but what about the rights of the person or the victim, in this particular case? The family needs closure, and with this now, the memories from 1995, have come back to haunt the family. There is no sense of permanent closure. In that sense, Ketan, do you not think this is, not fair if you look at purely that aspect of this case?
See, of course, there is a view that for the families it will not go down well. But one has to be objective and have some sort of a proper logical reasoning behind whatever the criminal justice system has to give out.
Right.
The fundamental principle is that if there are circumstances in the favor of the person who's been convicted, and there is a possibility that there is reformation in this case, as it has been noted in the judgment as well.
That's right.
The judiciary is free to take this view, and I support this view because
Okay.
reformation is the founding principle of criminal justice.
Fair enough. Prithu Garg, would you agree with what Ketan has just said? Because when you look at the cases, the provision of remission, do you think it needs to be, a little more fine-tuned, made a little more circumstantial in cases where there is a clear motive, there is a clear intent? Perhaps it should be made that much more tougher and not be looked at through the same prism as in cases where it's unintentional, for example.
Apart from that, there has to be one more aspect which we have to consider. Before leaving this man at large in the society, as the High Court has now done, was there any expert psychological evaluation of this man? Did anybody bother to see whether this man is actually psychologically fit to be in the society after having committed what he has? I mean, cutting his wife into pieces. I don't think any normal human being in any circumstance would do that. So it was really a rarest of the rare case. And if there is no psychological evaluation, just his conduct, which is also very subjective. Who certifies conduct in the jail? It's the jailer. Is there any psychologist or any medical professional who is involved in the whole process? If not, what is the sanctity of this whole process whereby the High Court says, all right, now you set him at large because you can't keep him indefinitely in jail. The question is, look at what he had committed, look at the offense, look at the gravity of the offense, the nature of the offense. And in that context, I don't think it was justified to release him without a proper inquiry into his mental state.
Right, okay, fair enough. Sita Ratan Kumari and Nagulpalli Venkat Rao, I'm going to get both of you now into this conversation. Sita Ratan Kumari, I'm sure you agree with what Prithu Garg over there says, but I want to take your comments on this as well. No sense of closure as far as the family members is concerned. If a convict, even after spending 23 years in jail, walks out, because of his good conduct, XYZ reasons that the court has observed in this case, do you think this needs to be more fine-tuned as far as the law in this particular case is concerned? Because all panelists agree, Maxwell Pereira has written extensively in his book about this, that this was one of the most chilling cases, came in the rarest of the rare category if you look at the crime itself.
Yeah. See, the case is very serious. See, probably there are many suggestions or decisions from respective areas. Court has taken decision. You take sentence review board. SRB also strongly recommended. I agree with just now advocate spoken. I surely agree with him, because when he was in jail, probably he was with good behavior and conduct during his stay in jail. But whatever just now he spoke, who certified him? Suppose if something goes wrong tomorrow, who will be responsible for that? Is the courts are responsible, or justice they are responsible? Who will be responsible if something goes wrong? And also, what kind of messages or signals are sending to the criminals? How they think, how they receive this judgment? So all these things we need to consider, and one more thing, we need to think from girls' point of view and their family point of view. They really feel that they received justice for 23 years. Sentenced imprisonment for him. How they received this? So so tomorrow there is a chance for other criminals also. Okay, we can do such kind of things, and after some time.
Precisely, we are talking about that.
Yeah.
Mr. Nagulpalli Venkat Rao, you have a different view. I know. What's that? I mean, how do you segregate, or how do you distinguish between a victim's rights and a convict's rights in this case? Because if you support one, the others, suffer in this particular case, and so many other cases, and this being one of the